How many times have you found yourself working on a project where you need to cut an exact line or a shape and finding that you may not have the skills you really need to pull that off? And even working with a great tool like a utility knife or even your favorite pair of scissors, if you have to cut out that perfect circle, the concept of perfect is going to be relative. Well, I'm going to show you a great solution on how to get past that limitation this week on Mixed Media Masters. Hello makers, and welcome to the studio. If this is your first time visiting us, then good to have you here. Thanks so much for visiting. If you see anything along the way that you like, please feel free to hit that like button. It really helps us out. And if you're interested in mixed media art and things that you can do in using these different tools and techniques, please feel free to subscribe to us. We drop a video every single week. Now this week, I want to jump kind of far away from a lot of the things we've talked about in the past. And that is when I'm trying to cut exact lines, sometimes the exactness of them is rather challenging. Now, a couple of years ago, I was working on a project where I needed to create some uniform shapes cut in a piece of paper, something I was using to create some flaps. Now, in my mind's eye, it looked pretty straightforward, but as soon as I picked up my utility knife and went to town, it quickly became very obvious that I was not going to get the consistency that I wanted. So my skills weren't really up to what I needed to do or what I visualized in my mind's eye. So I made an investment in a tool called a Cricut Maker. And it's like this one right here. So this is the Cricut 3. And the thing about the Cricut Maker is it's basically a plotter. If you're old enough to remember when there were like pen plotters that would draw things for you, you gave them instructions, kind of almost like CAD/CAM. It's a similar type of thing in that instead of cutting out three-dimensional shapes or burning things or milling things, this allows us to cut shapes out of paper and other materials, other thin materials. And today I want to share with you how we might create a project using a tool like the Cricut. And I'll share with you some of the things. I have an idea for a relatively simple project that I want to run through with you and something we can put together in under an hour. How about that? So to do this, let's go over and let's look at the Cricut Maker software, which is where all this magic begins. Now, when you're working with a Cricut, one of the first things you'll need to do is download the software that's designed to help you design content that you want to cut out on your Cricut. It's called Cricut Design Space, currently up to version 7. Now, I will just share in a sort of griping sort of way that this software is kludgy still. It's better than it used to be. It's oftentimes a very frustrating experience because what you're trying to do either doesn't seem very intuitive or it's just not working. And so every so often you run into something where it should be doing something and it's doing something completely different. So a little bit of patience, your breathing exercises, feeling good about yourself. But I'm going to come in here, I'm going to say I want to create a new project. And what it allows me to do is it allows me to work with a canvas which is gridded. Now I'm going to show you when we actually get to the Cricut. I'm using a cutting mat that is 12 inches wide by 24 inches long. So if I want to be able to create something in here that I can later cut out on the Cricut, that's going to work out for me. So I'm going to kind of work within the context of that. Now, moreover, what I'm thinking of doing is creating a perfectly square piece of art that's going to be based upon a 12 by 12 grid. So 12 inches by 12 inches will allow me to do that. So I can fit that into what I'm doing here. There's my 12 and then down to 12. So in order to figure out what I want to do here, again, it comes down to this idea of what shapes am I trying to make or what shapes am I trying to remove from a piece of paper. Let me give you an example. If I go into my shapes menu here, it allows me to come in and I want to work with a circle today. So I'm going to click on the circle and it's going to say, all right, there's a circle. Now I can move this circle anywhere I want within my canvas. I can copy and paste my circle by hitting, I'm on a PC, so Control C and Control V will copy and paste it, and then I can say, let's make this one a different size altogether. And what I want to do is I want to create, in essence, a grid of these different circles, and everything here that's currently gray is going to be what is going to be removed from the paper. So I really want to create a paper that's going to be full of holes by the time I'm done. That's my objective. So if I come in here and say, all right, let me grab this particular shape here, and let me just drag a few of them around. Again, I'm just kind of distributing them. I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, actually. Let's make a bigger size. There we go. So I'll put that right there. I'm going to decide how much, space I want between my shapes. I'm creating a basic margins of white space, if you will. Let me create another one of these. Oops. Actually, grab a bigger one. And again, I want to stay within my 12 by 12 grid. So that will work there. And I'm just going to fill it in. And I might need to come down here just a little bit more. And get into the, yeah. Make sure you stay within your grid. If you go to try to create something that's going to be, you know, that's larger than what the cutting area is, the Cricut will warn you on those kinds of things. Okay, but I'm just coming in here, and again, I'm just going to copy and paste these shapes like that. Copy and paste again. Let's put something right there. And maybe I'll create a slightly different variation on this, a slightly bigger shape. Put something in there. I'm going to make this one up. Yeah, kind of an interim size. By the way, no right way to do any of this, right? That's our motto here. Whatever works for you is going to work for you. One of the things I do want to do is just make sure I have enough kind of white space between the different shapes. I don't want it to get too thin in these areas. All right, and I'm going to start taking some of my my shapes and just, again, using them wherever they'll fit. I can probably fit one right here. There you go. And I'm going to fit one up here. Perfect. Let me use my smaller shape to kind of fill in some of these areas. There we go. And how about right there? And how about, I'm going to put it right down here. And we'll put it right here. And looks like I'm getting pretty close to my edges. Let me grab one more of these. I'll put it right in this area. And another small one. We're getting pretty close to being filled up, which is perfect. I'll put it right there. All right. Now I don't need to make it, you know, too saturated. That's not the objective here. The objective is to create basically some shapes that I'm going to want to have cut out of my piece of paper. So there we are. I've added a whole bunch of circles. I can see them over here. And if I wanted to select an individual circle, I could simply just click on it and see which one it is. And if I wanted to resize it or reposition it, I can do that. But in this very simple example, what I want to be able to do is just create a series of shapes, and I want to put a piece of paper. Now my paper is going to be 12 inches by 12 inches. I'm going to put a piece of colored cardstock in there that's 1 foot by 1 foot. And I'm going to say to the system, I want you to go cut all those circles out for me. So I'm basically left with a bunch of circles as well as a piece of paper that has circles cut out of it. That's the objective here. Okay, so we're ready to go. Let's come up here to the upper right-hand corner and click on where it says Make It. And we're going to come in and we're actually putting this, our paper is going to be put on the cutting mat. And our mat is going to be 12 inches by 24 inches, even though we're just using 12 by 12. We'll choose the right mat we have and say confirm. Now it's come on in here and it says, hey, in the interest of being more efficient with your materials, this is the cutting pattern I recommend that you use. That way you don't use as much paper to get the different shapes that you want. Great. But that really kind of messes up what I was doing, right? So I don't want to do that, and I appreciate the efficiency. Instead, I'm going to select all of my shapes here. There we go. And I'm going to come over here, and on the lower right-hand corner, I'm going to click where it says Attach. And what this allows me to do is to basically say, don't rearrange these. Keep them exactly where I put them. And now if I go back up to Make It, it will show me the grid based upon how I've laid my objects out. Now it's giving me a warning that says at least one of your images is larger than 11.5 inches, which is probably down here at the bottom. It's very close to here. So I can come in here and say, you know what, maybe I should come in and get off that line a little bit. And it gives me an opportunity to say, let's go back. So if I come back here, that's all right. Let's get this, whoops, I gotta unattach these. Again, you have to kind of remember where you are. Let me pull this up a little bit. Let me pull this one up a little bit. And again, just make it so we don't have any problems. There we go. Now that I have that all set, let's come up here. Whoops. Let's come up here again. I'm going to drag a marquee around everybody. And let's attach them again. Maybe we got rid of the problem. And it looks like we did. So we're away from that margin of 11.5 inches where it's going to cut, and this will work out finally. Now, by the way, let me just go back here just again to show you something very important when we're pulling these things together. And that is right up here, there's a place called Operation. And Operation allows you to do a number of different things. Cricut can cut things out, but it can also perforate lines. It can also put down a kind of a pressure line if you want the thing to fold on. It can work and do some pen drawings, if you want to plot things out. It does a lot of really cool things. We're going with a basic cut. I just want to cut these images out, but I want you to be aware that these things might be different. Okay? And in some cases, you might want to print it out first to get a sense of what it looks like before you cut it, and you can choose that. We're going to go with basic cut right there. And there we are. I'm going to go click on Make It. It's ready to go. And now I need to get ready to load things in on my Cricut. Now for this project, I'm going to be using some of the colors that I have in this book here. Like I said, these are 12-inch by 12-inch sheets of paper. And the objective here is I want to create something in which I have circles on circles on circles, and we can see all the way through the background, all right? And so these solid pieces are a great place to start, but I'm not sure how they're going to stack up yet. I'm going to start with this piece of purple. And again, it is 12 inches by 12 inches because all the paper in this book is 12 inches by 12 inches. Makes it very easy. I'm going to choose which side I want to cut. In this particular paper, it doesn't matter so much. And then I'm going to use my cutting mat. Now, like I said, I have a 12 by 24 inch cutting mat that I can use. And when you work with Cricut mats, there are different types of mats, and that has to do with the adhesion level. This is a strong grip mat, which means it's very sticky. And I like to use that because there's nothing more heartbreaking than trying to work on cutting something and having it slip off the mat while it's being cut at. So I'm going to make sure my piece of paper stays stuck down pretty well. And to do this, I just need to grab and align my corner. I'm going to just align on the upper right-hand side and get my paper down and do that. Now, by the way, these mats, this one's very sticky. I've had it for a while. And every so often it starts being less sticky. You simply just go take it to the sink and you run some warm water and use some dish soap. And you basically get off all of generally it's usually leftover fibers from the paper, which make it less sticky. And once you do all that, let it dry, it's sticky again. How about that? But here we are. I have my piece of paper ready to go, and I'm going to slide it into the Cricut Maker. And I'm going to push my double arrow button, which will draw it in and get it ready to go into the system. Okay? Now, the next thing I need to do is on my computer, I need to say I'm ready to go and send it over. Again, if I want to check my design, make sure everything's looking the way it should, I can. I'm happy with this. I'm going to click on the Continue button. And it's going to tell me if I need to connect to a specific machine. It's already found my machine. I only have one, so that's good. And it's giving me an opportunity if I want to come in here and choose the base material. Now I'm choosing heavy watercolor paper because that's the one I generally use. And it just allows me to identify what kind of pressure I want the knives, the little blades in the cutter to use. If it's really thin, obviously we don't need to go that heavy. If it's even thicker like leather, I need to maybe go a little bit further. Okay, so I'm going to go with my pressure there. My tools and materials are loaded. Now it's just an opportunity to press go on the Cricut and we're off and cutting. And now that everything's set up, my Cricut button is flashing. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to bring the signal in from my computer. It's going to measure out my mat, make sure it's there, get it self-oriented, and it's going to start cutting circles if all goes according to plan. Now, as you can see, hopefully you can see enough on the video, it's going through and it's selecting the different areas of the paper and basically marking it out. It's going in and it has a little cutting blade. It's a little knife blade that is protruding down that will go and cut that paper. Those knife blades, as you might imagine, can get dull and they're easily replaced. And you can also buy those in bulk. But it's giving me an opportunity to start to see how this is all working out for me. And again, depending on how many lines and how complex this is, it can take a certain amount of time to get everything cut out. This should only take just a few moments. And then we'll talk about what we might do on the next layer. All right, it has in essence cut out all of the circles I need. I'm going to push my double arrow button to release it. And now, hopefully you can see that, there are a series of concentric rings in here. And if I go and actually peel this thing off, you'll definitely be able to see what's going on. Now this is the piece of paper I wanted to cut. And you know, I couldn't do that by hand. I'm not lying. That would not be something that I would be able to do no matter how hard I practice. So yeah, better living through technology is what we're doing here. But this is the piece of paper that I wanted to create. By the way, also as just a fantastic byproduct, I have all these purple circles, and you can bet I'm going to put those aside somewhere in my paper stashes for future projects. Don't know if I need purple circles to this degree, but we'll make some more colors. And again, you know, everything that we create is the kind of thing we might use in a future project. So if you want to learn to be a good hoarder, yes, we're creating art is a fantastic way to do that. You can collect all sorts of art supplies you don't even need and store them for years. So I'm going to clear this mat so we can get ready, and we're going to talk about our next color. And I like this. I like this purple. Now, what I'm thinking is I want to be, like I said, I want to be able to take this purple and I want to be able to look through it, and I want to be able to see something behind it. So let's play around with what we think might work with that. Once I get this done here, there we go. And my last purple circle is out of the way. Now, in the context of what I'm doing here, I want to, again, find some colors that will work. And if I take my purple and you know, in this sense, I'm looking through the purple and I'm seeing this green color. But what if I have multiple colors? What if I have a red color and a purple color and a blue color and a bunch of things that blend together? What will that look like? So I'm going to start planning ahead here, and I'm thinking, all right, with my piece of artwork, I might want to take a bright color like red and put it at the background. And so I'm going to have a foundational layer like this, and I'm going to use it as the backdrop to allow me to look through my different circles. Now, that by itself is okay. It's not a very interesting piece of artwork. However, if I were to take something like a blue color and put it on top of this, then to be able to go through and randomly look through and see the purple and the red through different holes. So I'm thinking that is the next step. So I'm going to come in here and, you know, I kind of like this, I guess we'll call it teal. This teal color is what I'm going to want to work with here. And I'm going to put that on my cutting mat, and that's going to be the next layer. And everything's stuck to the mat. All right, let me get this piece of paper ready to go. And put it like that. Okay, so paper is here. I'm going to put it into the machine. I'm going to push the button to load it. So I need to go back in to Cricut Design, and let's talk a little bit about what some of the options might be here. Since I'm done with my previous work, I'm going to click on Done. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, all right, with this particular thing, one of the things I can do just to make it pretty easy for me is I could take this and I could rotate it. So up here in my tools, I have something that allows me to rotate this. And if I come in here and say, you know what, let's rotate this 90 degrees and let's see what happens. All right. Now, it doesn't look like much, but we've taken the same image and we've just flipped it. Now, could I go back in here and create a whole new grid of different circles and doing different things? Absolutely. But in this case, I just want to change the orientation so that it'll be interesting if we put this on top of our purple and on top of our red. So that's all I need to do. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click on Make It. It's going to show me what it's going to look like this time. Actually, let me cancel out of here because that looks exactly the same as what I had before. Let me come in here and let's detach this and reattach it. Again, like I said, there's some things that make it seem a little kludgy. There we go. Now it works. Otherwise, it was going to do the exact same thing we did before. All right. So that's what I want to cut out. That's what my blue color is going to be. I'm going to say continue. And once again, I'm going to say yes, do it on my heavy watercolor paper. So ready to go. And then I need to go basically load materials and press the go button again. And let's press go. So once again, the signal will be coming over from my computer to my Cricut cutter. And it's going to come in, it's going to cut these out, but in a slight different variation. All right, once again, we have our cuts made. Let me get this out here, and I'm going to peel up the good part, as it were. And just because in anticipation, let's come in here and let's see what it looks like if we start stacking this on top of our purple piece. And now we're starting to get a sense of how cool this can be. And again, we can reorient things, spin things, but I want you to get a sense of how this kind of is coming together. Maybe it looks even better if we do it like this, right? But we're starting to get some things that are really showing some cool variations on a theme. I'm going to do that one more time. Let's find another color we want to work with here. All right. Now, I'm looking these over, and again, I kind of like the purple and the teal. I have a greenish color here. Not sure how well it will work in here. Maybe it won't at all. But, I think there's a home for it somewhere in this color combination. So I'm going to come back in here, and let's get another piece of paper ready to go here. Get that on the cutting mat. I'm going to slide her in, and let's hit that double arrow button. Now, one of the nice things about working with Cricut is if I don't really need to change the design, and I'm not going to this time, because I can just rotate the paper. I don't need to have the cutter rotate things for me. I can simply click on my cut button, and it will cut out a new variation. So I can just sit here and just keep feeding pieces of paper in until I'm ready. All right, and there we go. We have another color. Let's get it out of here. And again, anticipatory. Look at this different color. Now, again, is this the color that goes on top? It could. Ooh. And we're starting to see it gets more and more complex and more interesting. Now, there's nothing to say I can't also tuck this in on a layer down below and see how that affects things. And again, maybe that red's not the perfect background color. Maybe there's something else that we want to put in there. I think actually we might find something a little bit brighter in the yellows. Let's take a peek at what that might look like. There we go. What do you think of that instead of the red background? I think it really pops colors a lot better. A lot better. It's that's not going to work for us. It's lined up. What's already there? All right. But again, no right answers. Kind of fun and absolutely abstract, which is what we're aiming for here. So what I would do now is I would take this and I would go find a suitable frame to drop it in. And an opportunity, let's get this up here so you guys can see it, and an opportunity to have something that is really kind of fun to look at, and we don't have to tell anybody that it really took us almost no effort at all to make this. Now, if you're interested in seeing more art surrounding cut paper and how we can use the Cricut to do that, I have some great projects I'm willing to share with you. Leave a comment for me. Let me know. Say, yes, Spider, we want more Cricut stuff. This is cool. And I'll be happy to create a few more lessons and show you some really neat things that we can do using our Cricut cutter to make some interesting abstract art projects. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today. Again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you dropping by. I'm Spider, and I'll talk to you next time.